What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Fantasy Football Daily on the Fantasy Points Podcast Network, our first annual NFL trade deadline spectacular. Theo Gremminger, joined by Scott Barrett and Brett Whitefield. We're getting after it, guys. NFL trade deadline is 26 minutes away. There's always a chance we get one at right at 4 o'clock Eastern, and it trickles in very late. We're waiting to see on Breece Hall. We've had a couple of big trades go down, not necessarily all of them fantasy related, some huge ones on the defensive side of the ball. Sauce Gardner, now an Indianapolis Colt. Quinnen Williams, now a Dallas Cowboy. Scott Barrett, let's start off the show. Let's talk about this Rasheed Shahed trade. Rasheed Shahed gets reunited with Clint Kubiak. Had great success with Kubiak in a short sample size in New Orleans last season. Traded for a 4th and 5th rounder, impending free agent end of the year. How do you take this one away?
Yeah, I like this. I think this is really interesting from a real life NFL perspective. I also like it from a fantasy perspective. What we're seeing right now is Sam Darnold is the best deep passer in fantasy points data history. He has something like an 81.5% catchable throw rate on deep passes. Otherwise, the best ever mark in the fantasy points data era would be just 72%. Rasheed Shahed, I think, is one of the best, one of the most underrated deep threats in football. In 2023, he ranked top 5 in receiving yards on deep passes. Just like one of the more underrated players, he was a UDFA, but a freak athlete. And then he kind of hit the ground running halfway through his 2022 season. And this was a stat that Ryan Heath and I kept referencing from 2022 to 2024 in games both Chris Olave and Rasheed Shahed played. Olave averaged like 2.02 yards per route run. Shahed was at 2.01. And so anything over 2 or at 2 is a really good mark, one of the better marks in the league. So just a really underrated player. And then from a real life NFL perspective, this is one of the big talking points of the week. Greg Olson tweeted this out. I quote tweeted that. Greg retweeted me. Mina Keems was talking about it. And like kind of all of my group chats were buzzing about what's going on with this Seattle Seahawks offense. And I think you could talk about it better than anyone, Brett. But basically, they're a heavy personnel offense, and defenses are matching them with base defense. Like typically, you run out of heavy, and you match that with base. But they are throwing in these looks, and Sam Darnold in these looks, really where all of his the great bulk of his EPA is coming from, is averaging like 14.5 yards per pass attempt, which would be the best mark by any quarterback ever, by about 45%. Next closest would be Kurt Warner. So I couldn't make sense of this. And basically what Greg was saying is like defenses are just being stupid. I think that's all it is. And I think because there is so much buzz about this, everyone talking about it, maybe we see defenses start to wisen up and start playing the pass against Seattle in these looks. But now you add a Rasheed Shahed to take the top off of the defense. You don't just have JSN, who has like a 50% yardage market share, one of the top 3 highest rates of any wide receiver dating back to the pre-Vietnam War. This just really, I think you have to look at Seattle as one of these, a true Super Bowl contender, maybe one of the best teams in their conference. And yeah, I think this is exciting all around. I feel like I rambled a little bit, but anything you want to chime in with, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, personnel mismatches that's the thing in the NFL. This is nothing new. It's not like the Seahawks are doing anything new. So it's a great move for the Seahawks. I thought they were a little weak at wide receiver too. I know Torrey Horton's a promising rookie, and Kupp has managed the slot role.
They talk about Kupp like he's like the Trent Williams of wide receivers. Like
the Seahawks do?
Yeah.
He's been good for them. but he's not what he used to be. So
he's going to be dust now, though, guys. He's already banged up, and now you add Rasheed Shahed. I mean, this is not a team that's in 11 that often.
He's banged up, but he'll bounce back quickly, right? He's only 33 with a million injuries in his career. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what it is. But I was just saying, like, you watched what was it, Sunday Night Football, and then 4 weeks earlier it was the same thing where it's like, yeah, Cup hasn't, it's not the same as, Triple Crown years, but he is an amazing blocker, and like that's all we do is just talk about him as a blocker. But yeah, this is what Zane, one of our top charters, Ryan, Heath, and I have been talking about constantly, is the value to any serviceable receiver in this offense. We did see it from Torrey Horton last week. We've seen it from JSN and Spades. This offense, with their condensed formations, with their very few receivers on the field, what does that mean? That means a very high expected target per route run, because your competition for targets is a lot lower. There is massive potential for a wide receiver to really blow up. And I'm a gigantic Rasheed Shahed truther. I've been a gigantic Rasheed Shahed truther for a long time. My hot take has been he's better than Xavier Worthy. He's a better deep threat than Xavier Worthy. He's a better, more complete receiver than Xavier. So I just love this. This is really fun and exciting to me.
I think the one concern for me is just the Seahawks don't throw the ball. They're low pass rate over expectation. I think Darnold's dropbacks per game is incredibly low.
So you need that efficiency where Darnold ranks top 5 in passing yards. But
you had the efficiency is going to have to stick, which it might. I mean, Darnold's on a heater right now, so. But I just don't. I wouldn't count on that. The Seahawks, by the way, they were a Super Bowl contender before this trade, so this is just makes them even better.
Yeah, I'll say Sam Darnold, Scott, rest of season absolutely on that streaming radar. Probably a low end QB1 rest of the season. A lot of it comes down to in the Clint Kubiak system. It's very simplistic, but it's the use of the fullback. We've seen it back-to-back years. Saw it in New Orleans, seeing it in Seattle. They draft Robbie Oots, and then they can go heavy with their tight end packages with Barner and Arroyo. So they stylistically, I think Shahed helps them a ton. I think this actually helps Jackson Smith and Jigba because the quality of the offense around him gets better. I think this helps Sam Darnold. Scott, is Rasheed Shahed in our weekly flex consideration? Is he in our weekly wide receiver 3 consideration? He is 15th in the league in targets right now. We expect that number to trend down, but obviously a quarterback upgrade with what he saw in New Orleans recently.
Yeah, I'm kind of even more bullish. It's a wait and see. Maybe that's a good place to slide him in for right now, but I would not be shocked if he has mid-range wide receiver 2 upside in this offense. It's going to be volatile week to week, but on a per game basis, that would not totally surprise me.
And number 2 in the league in targets is Chris Olave. Chris Olave now seemingly has all of the targets to himself in New Orleans. I'd imagine Devon Vele steps into the vacated Rasheed Shahed role. Obviously a very different wide receiver. Juwan Johnson will get about as much as he can handle. Brett, your thoughts about Olave moving forward? Is this a net positive for him, or is this offense is just going to be abysmal rest of the season?
Yeah.
Can I say both? I mean, yeah, the offense is bad, and Tyler Shuck stinks, so that's concerning. But anytime you get the role he's going to have, I mean, that's awesome. Like, he's going to get 15 targets a game, so.
He is certainly going to get a lot of targets. Let's talk about another trade that went down. Jacobe Meyers gets sent to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We find out that Travis Hunter should be back in about 3 games. BTJ might play this week. There's a lot of fluidity at the wide receiver room. A lot of fluidity to my my waiver wire article. I'm going to have to rewrite it tonight, guys, because I was really, really high on Parker Washington being sort of the PPR merchant cheat code. Now that ship sails a little bit. I've had some pushback with some people after I dropped a post on X. Curious your thoughts about this one, Scott. First of all, your main takeaway here is your enthusiasm level for Jacobe Meyers in Jacksonville, short-term, long-term, rest of the season. Take it any way you want. And does this sort of eliminate the Parker Washington narrative that a lot of people are diving into this week?
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I wrote this glowing blurb on Parker Washington, play him in DFS this week. And then I just had to totally rewrite it. I'm bullish on Jacoby Meyers. I'm pretty excited about it. Um, what's going on here? You have Travis Hunter, who's going to miss at least the next 3 weeks. You have BTJ, who picked up an ankle injury last week. We don't know the severity of that, but we do know he's really struggled this year. Maybe the team has somewhat soured on him, and this trade is indicative of that. And then you have Jacoby Meyers, who he hasn't really done much since week 3, but that's also when these, he talked about wanting a trade. And, maybe he kind of learned from his former teammate last year, Devontae Adams, who like very clearly quiet quit on the Raiders and then was traded, where his ass was just like worst in the league for three weeks. They trade him and then he's back to top 10. And yeah, like Meyers is an underrated talent. Before, what did I say? He hasn't done much since week 3, but before that, it was like an 11-game stretch where he was averaging 9.8 targets, 80 yards per game. And this is a valuable offense. The Jacksonville Jaguars rank top 4 in catchable targets per game, top 4 in catchable air yards per game. And so there's clear value here. Who is the most valuable asset? I think it's whoever is going to get that Liam Cohen slot role in this offense. And we don't know who that is. It was Parker Washington last week. It was Parker Washington last week to great success. But it was Travis Hunter before that, 60% slot rate. And Jacoby Meyers for the Raiders, 60% slot rate. That was his natural position in New England as well. And so I think it comes down to that. You think it's Parker Washington, Brett?
I mean, natural position in New England 4 years ago for Jacoby Meyers. He's been a wide out receiver.
I mean, not this year.
It's pretty close, and he wasn't playing a full-time role.
60%.
So.
Yeah.
So, Brett, you would say that if Parker Washington's still available on your waiver wire, you wouldn't change just about anything with Travis?
No, I think Washington's still the guy until Hunter's back for sure.
Okay, so there you go.
Over Jacoby Myers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Jacoby's a good player, but Trevor Lawrence stinks, for one.
Yeah.
For two, we don't have a great track record, a great history of players joining new teams, especially bad ones. So
this is something I wanted to talk to you about, Brett, is like, we agree Trevor Lawrence stinks. We can dive into this if anyone's curious. We've said that about Caleb Williams as well. But the play callers are so good. This is still a super valuable offense, despite Trevor Lawrence being bad. Top 4 catchable targets per game, top 4 in catchable air yards per game.
But I don't understand how that, like, Lawrence ranks 11th in catchable target rate. So I don't know how that
because it's so. I break things down from more of a fantasy perspective than you do from an NFL perspective. And part of the allure here is Liam Cohen's very fast pace of play and high pass rate over expectation. So there is value from a fantasy perspective. I think Jacoby Meyers is going to smash these next 3 weeks. I think he's going to do really well. And then when Hunter comes back, there's going to be an internal dialogue over whether you let Hunter be the guy, which is how things were trending before this injury. All the reports during the bye week, he's the guy now. If Jacoby really doesn't impress, maybe you go back to Hunter. If he does, maybe you stick with Jacoby. I don't think it would be Parker, but like, to play devil's advocate here, Parker Washington ranks 16th among all wide receivers in targets per route run. He's seen 9 or more targets in 3 of the 4 games. He's cleared a 36% route share. So at the very least this week, banged up BTJ, no Travis Hunter, Jacoby Meyers just joining this team. Mm-hmm. Maybe Brett's right.
Yeah, I think Parker Washington short term, but I agree with Scott. Like, over the rest of the season, who's going to score more points? I'm going Jacoby Meyers. And Scott, you've always been a little bit of a Jacoby Meyers stan over the last 2 years. So I got to like seeing him ending up in the Liam Cohen offense, getting away from Brock Bowers. Guys, I'll follow up with this one. Brock Bowers is going to be a 30% target share tight end. Extremely exciting stuff rest of the season. Who's the big beneficiary of Jacoby Meyers not being a Raider? Are we betting on Trey Tucker? Do you want to take a shot on one of these 2 rookies? I'm probably on Trey Tucker here. Start out with you, Scott. Who's your bet here in Vegas?
Yeah, Bowers is going to wreck leagues, and then Trey Tucker. Yeah, I mean that's just, we wanted it to be Jacobe Meyers, like he was chalk in DFS every week, but he has a real rapport with Geno Smith, and he had a 40 burger, like that's like rare upside, and yeah, and I expect this offense to be a lot better, even though you're taking Jacoby Myers out of the picture. This is a team that very badly wants to be a 12 personnel team. They were at 70% of the time. They had multiple tight ends on the field last week. That was up from like 24%. And so you had Geno Smith looking like one of the worst quarterbacks in football, this looking like one of the most dysfunctional offenses in football. I really think that's because you lose Brock Bowers, one of the best young players in all of football. And it also, it wasn't allowing them to be who they wanted. Michael Meyers, awesome, probably the best tight end 2 in football, and Bowers. And now, yeah, they could be who they want to be. And I think this is going to be a good functional offense. And I don't think Tucker's the most talented player in the world, but yeah, I'm expecting bigger and better, brighter things from him.
Brett, do you agree on that one?
I don't really love anybody here. I mean, I think it paves the way to develop some of these rookies, whether that's Jack Besh or Dante Thornton. So I think that's probably the route they go. It probably helps one of those two guys more than Trey Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about two guys who have like a 0.04 target per route run. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, because they weren't playing. Now they will.
Well, no, that's adjusted. It's on a per route basis.
So we have 10 minutes left until the official deadline. Oh, and I'm supposed to remind you, Scott, just in the chat, our little School of Scott bet on RJ Harvey north of 13.5 points. I won that one last week. Make sure you're tuning into School of Scott. Make sure you're tuning into School of Scott. Scott, Barrett, and I are we're recording later tonight, guys. Later tonight, it's going to drop tomorrow. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Fantasy Points YouTube, go ahead and give us a subscription. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the fastest growing one in fantasy football for a reason. Make sure you're tuning into everything that Brett's doing, everything Scott's doing. And if you see a trade go down, drop it in the chat here, because I'm trying my best to like follow on like multiple tabs. But shout out to our audience. Guys, we a ton to unpack here of what's going on in New York. Let's first start out with the Sauce Gardner trade fallout. Okay, so this is the big one. This is 2 first-round picks from the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are officially Super Bowl hunting on this one. Very quickly, and this is sort of like the smallest part of this trade, your interest level in Adonai Mitchell, who is a fantasy points favorite because the guy separates so well, incredibly high average separation score. It was a player that I know I liked as a prospect coming in, elite athlete, just not happening for him in Indianapolis. Alec Pierce, I expect that Indianapolis probably re-signs him this offseason. He's playing very, very well. Certainly Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, they're kind of locked in. Adonai Mitchell, interested in him at all in a new place here, Brett, with maybe a coaching staff that's more open-minded to actually playing him. Your thoughts?
I mean, they're not going to have a choice. He's their second best pass catcher on the roster now. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Maybe more in a dynasty setting than a rest of season setting, but I think his dynasty value went way up with this trade because now he's not buried on the depth chart. He's got a clear path to the field. The quarterback situation in New York is tough, so I think that's rest of the season makes it kind of hard. You can't really anticipate him acclimating well to that offense quickly, and then also dealing with Justin Fields. So, but dynasty, I'm for sure in. I still have a couple shares of him, but I might try to acquire a couple more.
Scott, anything to add? I know Adonai Mitchell's been a player that you've liked to talk about. Sort of more of a meme and enigma. We had that huge potential game where all the guy had to do was not drop the ball before he went into the end zone. Somewhere in the multiverse, he crosses the goal line, and he's in the Colts' good graces right now. Probably not a Jet. I'm excited about this one. Brett's excited. Are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, it like he was never going to touch the ball again on the Colts. So, yeah, that this has to be good news for him. I wanted to hear Brett's thoughts on Adonai Mitchell, the player, because his ass was great last year. It was 7th best among 100 plus qualifying wide receivers. But what I've heard and what I've seen is like, and this wasn't a prospect I liked at all. I was really ruthless on him, but the allure of that ass, and it wasn't just us and our data. Reggie Wayne, Hall of Famer, Colts wide receiver coach, was saying the exact same thing. It's like, he really threw the quarterback under the bus last year and was saying, no, guys, Adonai Mitchell, we hit on this pick. Adonai Mitchell is getting so open at the highest rate in the league. He looks great. But what I'm hearing and what I've heard and what I've seen is like, he sucks at everything else. Like, he is zero yak, really bad drops. The big one from, Colts beat reporters, a lack of physicality at the catch point, after the catch, running wrong routes, boneheaded decisions like you just described. So, any thoughts on that, Brett? Like, what do you think about him as a player, or do we just not really know at this point?
I mean, that was everything you just said is basically my write-up on him coming out. Freakish athlete, potential to be a fantastic receiver in the league, but plagued by constant missed assignments. Even the separation numbers are outstanding, but it comes with the caveat of he's doing a lot of improv. The discipline in his route running just isn't there. He's not at the right depths. He can't be trusted to be at his landmark. And so I think that's a big problem, obviously, in the Colts situation where they have developed wide receivers and they're in a win now window. He doesn't make a lot of sense for them in a situation with the Jets where they don't have they literally have nobody. I mean, they have the corpse of Alan Lazard and Josh Reynolds starting for them. It's a really bad situation, right? So you're probably willing to put up with a little bit more of that in a rebuild year where you're finding young, talented guys, assuming he can get the buy-in, or Aaron Glenn can get the buy-in from him. If he buys into the culture and what they're trying to do, yeah, I think he'll be good there. But he's got to develop.
5 more minutes, guys, before the deadline. Keep this Jets conversation going. This is like, the Adonai Mitchell one, we wanted to be very quick because I wanted to have a takeaway on this one from you guys. Is the big winner today not Daniel Jones? Because by trading away your 2 first-round picks, you're basically pushing the chips in on Daniel Jones. I'd fully expect them to sign him to an extension maybe before the end of the season with the way the season's going. Do you agree on that one, Brett?
Yeah, the second I saw him play in the Colts uniform, I knew they were extending him. So, yeah, they're not letting him walk out the door for sure.
There you go. Scott, anything to add on the Daniel Jones situation?
No. Okay,
so Breece Hall wants out of New York. We now seen the Quinnen Williams trade, Sauce Gardner trade. Breece Hall wants out. Does Isaiah Davis become a really, really fun pickup for fantasy managers if Breece Hall is not traded? Because with no contract extension, maybe the unhappy type vibes there, could this be a, dare I say it, a quiet quitting down the stretch, Scott? Do you start having those kind of vibes?
For the Jets?
No, for Breece Hall. If Breece Hall is not traded in the next 4 minutes, are we interested in trying to make moves to acquire Isaiah Davis, who's looked very good, has that pass-catching upside, with the chance that Breece Hall maybe catches a little knock in practice, doesn't play?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, imagine getting hurt, like how much money that hurts you in free agency in 8 months or whatever it is. I certainly think that's a possibility. What do you do with this Jets team? Like, they're just full on rebuild, potential tank mode. Is there any fantasy value? Like, do we even trust Garrett Wilson to just get a 70% target share because there's no one else? Our team is just going to drop like 40 points on them every single week.
Their defense was pretty good at times this year. I know not every week, but they've had some big. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. I mean, in theory, if it's a devil's advocate here, and it's Breece Hall saying, you know what, I'm going to go out and earn that bag. I'm going to go put up 25 points each and every week. Then we're going to get a net benefit from it. I think Garrett Wilson's the one, though, Scott. I think that the game flow is going to be better for him. The lack of players around him and the fact that they've already paid him. Justin Fields, we've already seen him sort of excel with Fields. And if they do make the switch to Tyrod Taylor down the stretch, we have to not dislike that one. I mean, the team's a train wreck, but if Garrett Wilson's healthy, I'm still starting him. Brett, do you have any takeaways here with the Jets?
Yeah, one thing I'll say about this team is they've played incredibly hard in every game so far. I think the parallels to the 2021 Lions are certainly there. AG has had these guys competing in every game but one, really. I mean, they've been at the precipice of multiple wins. So he hasn't playing hard. He's clearly cleaning house, getting rid of the non-dudes in the locker room, right? So I think they'll play hard down the stretch. I mean, I don't think that will. Maybe Brees doesn't, but I think I kind of like Garrett Wilson. I think he'll give you a little bit down the stretch because I think they're going to keep trying to win.
Your thoughts on the very shout out to the IDP listeners out here. Your thoughts on the Quinnen Williams trade to Dallas, Brett? I know you were I saw your post on X, a little cryptic. You just dropped the OMG and quote tweeted it. No context. Could you give a little context?
The Quinnen Williams trade. I mean, what a disaster for Dallas, giving up a 1-2 and Mozzie Smith for Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams hasn't been good since 2023. Honestly, in this year he's been quite bad. Not even just like he was great in 2023, 2022, but he's been pretty bad. So
Quinnen, you're saying?
Yeah, Quinnen Williams. Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's been objectively bad this year.
Jerry got fleeced again, huh?
Oh, it's dude. They're picking on him at this point. He's
the anti Howie Roseman.
It's kind of crazy because when you do the math, you gave up a 1-2 and Mozzie Smith for Quinnen Williams, and you probably just could have had Micah Parsons. I don't know. It's totally bizarre to me, the whole thought process there. So, and then maybe Jerry did this because he loves holdouts so much, and Quinnen Williams after next season will probably hold out for a big contract. So we can
breaking late trade here. The Saints are trading Trevor Penning to the Chargers per Adam Schefter. There you go, Brett.
Tackle help, yeah. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater down for the year. They need offensive tackle help. So
Penning's like the biggest asshole offensive lineman in football, right? Like that's his reputation. But is he any good?
Yeah, I mean he played really good last year. They drafted his replacement basically. So actually they've drafted 2 tackles in a row after they drafted him, which is kind of funny. So 3 offensive tackles in 3 consecutive drafts for the Saints. So they weren't going to re-sign him, I don't think. But yeah, he's good. He's physical. He fits in with the Harbaugh brand, which is physicality, toughness. Going to get after you in the run game. Definitely better in the run game than I would say as a pass protector. But it's an upgrade for them for sure over what Trey Pipkins when he's healthy, and then the other,
they've just
practice squad guys that they were basically having to start. So
yeah, and occasionally just anybody seeing the 4 o'clock here. Occasionally we get these like trades that went down right at the deadline and that'll trickle in. So we're going to stay live for about another 15 minutes. We're going to get back to Scott here. Drop a couple of questions in the chat here. We're also going to take a couple of fantasy questions. This is Scott Barrett's first appearance on Fantasy Football Daily since I started hosting the show. So we're going to have him answer a couple of fantasy questions, get Brett answering some questions as well. But Scott, finish your thought here on the Penning trade.
I just pulled it up. He's PFF's 198th graded offensive line. He's like one of their worst offensive linemen.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I know it.
Do they know ball, guys? Do they know ball? Just a big shout out. If you are looking for fantasy data out there, analytics, Fantasy Points is the place to be. Check out Fantasy Points data. It's the best in the business. Don't need to quote our competition on this stream, guys. Let's talk about the Jalen Waddle surviving here, Scott.
I was just gonna say about Quinnen Williams too. I thought it was really interesting that it was a conditional trade. Jerry Jones is giving the Jets whatever is higher of or better of their 2 draft picks, theirs or the Packers. We don't see that. Like that's something you see a lot in the NBA, but I don't know that I've ever seen that in the NFL for a first round pick. So that just kind of, further highlights the desperation and, bad decision making of Jerry Jones. Although he very much treats his team like, an entertainment business. He likes to stay in the news, give people something to get excited about. But in terms of, improving your championship odds, I think this is another L for him.
So the trade deadline officially looks like it's in the books. A couple players who survived and were not moved. David Njoku remains a Cleveland Brown. Jalen Waddle remains a Miami Dolphin. Certainly Breece Hall, still a New York Jet. Those were the players. Chris Olave, there was some steam, and a lot of it seemed like interest level. New Orleans didn't move him. There was some late Deebo Samuel steam coming out of Washington. None of that went down. But again, did have a couple of interesting takeaways here. Let's take some questions from the chat here. Parker Washington or Pop Douglas this week? Looks like Kayshon Boutte is going to be out with a hamstring. And, of course, we have the wide receiver question marks in Jacksonville. I'm going Parker Washington on this one. Scott and Brett want to chime in?
I don't know. That's tough. I would just check our projections on
I would-
Thursday.
I would say
We have
Pop Douglas probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a coin flip. We have the most accurate projections in the industry this year. They get better as the week progresses. So I would check those again on Thursday and Sunday.
Yeah, and Graham Barfield and I also do a start sit show that streams right here on Fantasy Points YouTube and on the Fantasy Football Daily podcast feed. I also dropped on X saying that we were going to be in doing a stream, and I took a couple questions here. I'm going to drop one question here from X. Is Jackson Dart already a top 5 quarterback? We'll kick it to you on this one, Scott.
A real life NFL top 5
I
quarterback?
think this is a fantasy football top 5 quarterback rest of season.
Well, he's performing like it. He currently ranks 4th in fantasy points per dropback. He ranks 4th in fantasy points per start. That's despite a bottom 3 supporting cast. That's despite one of the toughest strength of schedules in all of football. Yeah, I mean, he's a mid-range QB1 moving forward. Maybe should be top 5. My big concern with him is, you see him launching himself headfirst like a torpedo into defenders. So I worry about him staying upright, and I worry about the health. And I would have loved if my Giants made this trade for Rasheed Shahed. But yeah, I think he's right around there. Fringe top 5, top 6.
Quick one for Brett. We touch on this briefly, but I think it's an important one because this player is a challenger for the wide receiver 1 overall. I know I shared my thoughts on JSN. I think Scott did briefly as well. Your thoughts on JSN right now, Brett, with the addition of Shahed, with Seattle sort of trending up with Darnold's high level of play?
I don't think it hurts him if that's what you're worried about. If anything, maybe it encourages Seattle to pass the ball a little bit more, with another mismatch opportunity with Shahed. So, but I think it's fine. If anything, it might even help him, right? Because they're getting to the point where like we're going to load up and bracket, double JSN, do what we can to take him away. It was trending in that direction, and so with Shahed in the mix, teams probably can't do that. So,
for Scott, this is a question I'm sure that we're going to get often on multiple Fantasy Points feeds here. Torrey Horton was a huge waiver wire ad for a lot of fantasy managers in last night's run for leagues with the waiver wire coming up as well. Where are you at on Torrey Horton? Is he a player you still want to stash, or does the Shahed? No, he's done.
Yeah, I think he's done, because that's what I was saying. Is this offense, typically only has it probably averages 2.2 wide receivers on the field, one of the lowest. There's just no room for him now.
Here's one. Rico Dowdle, is he an RB1 or an RB2 rest of the season? I'm going to say he is an RB1 100%. Scott, I'm sure we're going to talk about this one on School of Scott. So if you want Scott Barrett's thoughts on Rico Dowdle, you've got to tune in for School of Scott this week, because that might be the opening question, Scott. We're recording that later tonight. Let's pass this to Brett Whitefield, get his Rico Dowdle take. What are you seeing here? 3 games played by Rico Dowdle with 28-plus PPR points, Brett.
I mean, Rico's a stud. How we got to this point is crazy. I don't know how he went from backup in college to freaking stud. I don't know, but he's awesome, man. So, yeah, I would say RB1 for sure.
Scott, I have a question from X. This is from Julio on X. Should I trade James Cook and George Pickens for CMC? I'm going to say 100% I'm trading James Cook and George Pickens to get CMC. You want to take that one, though?
Yeah, that's easy. Done. Do it. Don't think twice.
Trading both of them to get CMC?
Yes.
Huge win.
It's a massive win, though, Brett.
Really?
That's the way fantasy football works, is you want these power law players. If you're trading a 2-for-1, typically whoever's getting the 1 is getting the better end of that deal. Shout out to Upside Wins Championships, what I've always said I thought was my most important article, my best article.
Really? Like wide receiver 5 overall and running back 4 overall for running back?
The idea being it's the 25.7 points per game from Christian McCaffrey is going to be 9 points more per game than James Cook rest of the way. Then you factor in you're not taking a 0 on the player you start over George Pickens, And then the potential for smash weeks with CMC. CMC, it has 8 out of his 9 games played this year. He's scored at least 22 PPR points. 25.7 points per game is the 11th most all-time, guys. So
27.5.
25.7 points per game.
25.7.
Yeah, you should definitely read my magnum opus. In that, it talks about how 2019 Christian McCaffrey, you were better off just having him and a bunch of random players you added off of waivers than having like the QB3, the RB10, the RB11, wide receiver 10, wide receiver 11, and the tight end 3. Like that's the impact that one. But you also see it in win rates. One of the craziest observations I thought Ryan and I had this summer was it was harder to win your championship without CMC 2 years ago than it was to win your league with him last year. That's just the impact of these power law players, these, Christian McCaffrey, who you have averaging, 9 fantasy points per game more than the RB4. And also George Pickens, I think is trending down as CeeDee Lamb gets healthier. I mean, not trending down, but not the production you've had thus far. James Cook also, I think he's going to be volatile week to week. He didn't have a single reception all of October.
You think James Cook is volatile? He's got like 20 points in every game except for
James Cook is unbelievably awesome, but it's just it's the lack of pass catching.
I mean, James Cook has made me look bad so many times, but yeah, he just rips off these like 70-yard runs randomly. But he's had 1 reception since week 5, and 2 of those games were were single-digit fantasy points.
Okay, let's take another question here. This is from our chat on the stream. Would you trade Javonte Williams for Ramondre Stevenson and Cortland Sutton? I need a win, and Javonte is on a bye week. No, I'm not making this trade. I'm holding on to Javonte Williams. If I'm going to trade Javonte Williams, I want to get 2 better assets than Sutton and Stevenson. Troy Franklin might be taking over. We talked about that on School of Scott last week, about how Troy Franklin looking a little bit more like a 1A, 1B. And as the season moves along, maybe just becomes the wide receiver 1. Mondre, I have no faith in. Turf toe. I'm staying away from that one. I'm sure these guys agree with me on this one. Here's one from Jack on our stream. Am I YOLO starting Dart over Jordan Love rest of the season? Scott, I mean, is there any who you could ask pretty much any quarterback, and Scott's going to say, this is easy.
Yeah,
you love
easy peasy. Good. This is like, give me some tough ones. Let's do Jackson Dart versus Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and we have shout out to Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted says winter is coming for CMC.
I agree.
So there you go. Like a lot of volume concerns here, Scott. And I'll say the one annoying thing about Christian McCaffrey, a week 14 bye week. So if he's slightly banged up, does that mean he also misses like week 13 and week 15? That's the one thing I hate about the late bye. Winter is coming in the chat. Nice reference there. Let's take one more. We got to wrap this up in a minute. Here's a fun one from Fantasy Burner, who's a big supporter of our content over on X. Lost Jaden Daniels. Matthew Stafford is the backup, but the playoff schedule is rough for the Rams. Do you like Stafford, Darnold, Flacco, or J.J. McCarthy rest of the season? 6-point passing touchdown. Scott, I'll give it to you again. Matt Stafford, Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold, or J.J. McCarthy. And we'll talk about playoff schedules coming up. We're not really looking at that yet. A lot can change, but just general vibes on these guys. Pretty much a champagne problem. A couple of nice streaming options, in my opinion.
Probably slightly into Stafford, but I might be kicking myself. Joe Flacco, I kind of don't trust it because he has this AC joint sprain to his throwing shoulder. He's had one of the softest strength of schedules, but it only gets softer from here. I think 5 of his next 6 opponents rank bottom 6 in schedule adjusted allowed to quarterback. So it might be Flacco who's averaging like 350 passing yards per game.
Brett, let's go on. This is a fun one because Brett, you always you're sneaky good dynasty trader. Who is the best buy low, or maybe the market hasn't adjusted to quarterback in dynasty right now?
Oh man, that's putting me on the spot.
I'll answer with mine real quick. It's Daniel Jones. It's Daniel Jones.
You
Daniel
think you
Jones, the top
still buy
15
him low?
quarterback in Dynasty.
You think you can still buy him low?
Not low, but I don't know if the market's fully moved. It's sort of the Baker Mayfield corollary where it doesn't matter if he's scoring. It doesn't matter if he's succeeding. There's going to be managers thinking that they're selling high because of what he's done in the past. So I'm all about Daniel Jones. I mean,
for me, I'd say JJ McCarthy.
there you go. There you go. Scott, any Dynasty quarterback that you're looking to buy?
I'll be honest. I don't really think about Dynasty in season. Certainly not as much as Jackson Dart. Just keep buy high.
Like that.
It's only going to go higher.
Jackson Dart.
Give me your film takes on Brett. This is a partial victory lap for you. You had Dart as your QB1 in this class. You had some spicy comps for him. How are you feeling after watching what we've watched these last few weeks without Malik Neighbors? Without
great, he's getting better. I mean, I think the first couple of weeks were rough. The fantasy production was obviously there, so I wasn't worried about that. But footwork was super sloppy, inaccurate. I would say bouts of inaccuracy at times, and then he's just getting better and better. So I think the more he plays, the even better he's going to get. So I'm feeling great about Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and
he looks awesome, man.
I'll give Brett a huge shout out because Brett has been singing the praises of Jackson Dart on my shows before I was even at Fantasy Points. I had Brett on my old job, and he came over and talked about Jackson Dart.
Yeah, he was my QB to watch heading into last college season. So
yes, he was 100%. And the two of us were all over Dart being a first-round pick. We took some heat on that, Brett. I would go on these other channels and say, we're going to see Jackson Dart as a quarterback drafted in the first round, and some of these other guys were like, "Oh, I don't know." We were spot on about that one. And we have a big announcement coming up. Brett and I are going to be doing a lot of NFL draft-focused podcasting. We're going to make some announcements on that. If you're already following the YouTube channel at Fantasy Points, it's all going to be over there, and we'll have a big podcast announcement. So expect to see maybe Brett on like a Dynasty Life soon. We'll do something with that. Maybe a School of Scott. Brett, you're due to come on a School of Scott with Scott and I. Can we get a guarantee that you'll do that in the month of November?
I'm always willing. Scott's had the scheduling conflict, so I think you guys have other guests or something lined up. So, but I'm ready. I'm ready to rock.
Scott, let everybody know about the Everything Report. What are some cool takeaways from it? We're going to break it down on School of Scott. Give just this stream, the Fantasy Football Daily listeners, a little bit of a preview of it.
This is honestly probably like the worst Everything Report of the season. It's the data suite glitched out this morning because of our provider. It's not on us. And then obviously like the trade deadline blew everything up. But yeah, there's some good stuff in there. We talk about, the Rico Dowdle victory lap. The roller coaster ride on Drake London. We're back to him looking like a league winner. Theo, the grief I gave you earlier in the year. And yeah, it's really just everything you hopefully need to know from the week that was, and for the remainder of the season.
Awesome stuff. Again, you're going to get Scott's takeaway on Rico Dowdle, Scott's Brock Bowers takeaways, and way more on School of Scott. Make sure you're listening into my Start Sit show with Graham Barfield. And then JJ Zacharyson joins me as this week's guest on Fantasy Football Daily. We're everywhere here at Fantasy Points. If you're looking to level your fantasy game up, your gambling game up, your DFS game up, or your dynasty game up, consider a subscription to fantasypoints.com. All of our packages are discounted right now, and you can get an additional 15% off using the code Theo. Makes a fantastic Christmas present, a great Hanukkah present, birthday present, you name it. Give the gift of winning football with Fantasy Points, and we're going to see you soon.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.